they can actually dictate even the choices you make, because obviously the content you consume from AI will influence how you're making decisions.
You don't want to rely on like either life-threatening or life-changing or or et cetera, X, Y, and Z ramifications on a model that has basically been, messed with in the past, and it could be messed with by your enemy or by your friend.
Do you think that's the future of AI meme coins?
Welcome back to the Rollup, your home for technical talks and open conversations that shape the modular future. Nothing on today's show is to be construed as financial advice. You can see our full disclosures list at therollup.co/ventures. Sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode after a quick word from some of our awesome partners.
Redstone modular oracles are available on 50 plus chains, trusted by over 100 clients, and over 6 billion in total value secured. Visit redstone.finance to find out more.
All right, Illia, they convinced you to come to ETH Denver somehow. I don't know how they did that.
I've been actually coming here since 2019, every time except 2021.
Yeah. Well, the market's in shambles right now. Crime is
what are you talking about?
Is back, there's been a lot of advancements in AI over the last couple of weeks, months, years, and I'm not really sure what's happening anymore.
Well, we're heading towards Singularity. That's one for sure.
How do we know we're not already there?
I think you'll know when people just stop posting papers and advancements, because it doesn't, by the time you post it, it's already outdated. That's your that's your indicator.
Are you in the accelerationist camp, E/accelerate?
I'm in a user ownership camp, and user owned AI, user owned internet, meaning I don't want a single company to control effectively, our fate and effectively how we can use this technology, or any technology for that matter. And so I'm in a camp of everyone should have their own AI that's on their side, that's not trying to make money off you, which is kind of current state. And those AIs will need to figure out how to coordinate, how to do these things. And then, you kind of, yes, there will be some people who are trying to do malicious things using their AI. And then, by the fact that everybody else have their own AI, there is a way to effectively catch and address that. Same as, normally with police, detecting people trying to do malicious things.
Now, right now, we all have our, Claudes and GPTs, but it's all kind of fragmented. How in a world where everyone has their own local AI, how do those AIs interoperate with one another?
So funny you should ask. We're releasing something tomorrow.
Okay. Tomorrow's today.
Today. We're releasing something today. Tomorrow's today. Tomorrow's today should be, you should have it on t-shirt. If you're recording a podcast, tomorrow is today.
That's right.
So we have this protocol for effectively agent interaction and transaction, AITP, like HTTP for AI. And the idea is, so let me give you a few mental models, right? So if you have an AI assistant that's on your side, the AI assistant doesn't really need all the kind of crutches that we as people have, right? It doesn't need, Googles and Amazons, which are kind of aggregating content and aggregating products. It doesn't even need regulators, because regulators really are just a delegated decision-making, because we cannot go and review every single thing, every single, new pharma company posting something, but our AI can. Our AI can go and review everything, contact, 100,000 other AIs and figure out something that's optimal for you at this time, with your medical records, with your bank status, etc. Right? And so that's kind of the future I expect. The future I expect is everybody has an AI. Some of it is effectively, our AI is figuring something out. Some of it is AI of a factory or a service or a company or a pharma. And sometimes these AIs are fully autonomous and they're just doing some function and have their own state and money, etc. And so now all of these AIs need a way to find each other. So there's some discovery process and kind of registry. This is what blockchain is really useful. And then you have a way for them to communicate, find out, negotiate something, express intent, hey, I need, for example, medicine that helps me with this or that. And then, negotiate something, commit to it, get it executed, ship, arrives, and then if it something didn't arrive, etc., dispute, etc. So that's actually extending the intent protocol to really support this kind of rich interactions of agents between each other. And, kind of we're rolling out v.1 for like starting to show you how you can do, buy stuff from Amazon using agent and, interact with different services and stuff like this. So, but that's the future we expect is like an agent network where effectively all these agents are just like working on behalf of their users or on behalf of their community, if it's a community-owned agent, and, delivering the value to the kind of stakeholders.
And this world looks a lot different than our AI XBT meme coin on Twitter yapper, right? Like this world you're describing is one where, you mentioned user-owned AI and user-owned internet. Those are two key tenets. And so the AI meme coin is not the user-owned AI, right? Like those are two. So could you just separate, untangle those two things, right? And kind of talk about what really is user-owned AI, because it's not the AI meme coins that we've already, seen.
Yeah. So the general concept, Near has been effectively like this has been our mission since like we formulated a mission in like early 2019 was how do we bring this world where users control their data, assets, and power of choice, right? Those are very like important concepts, right? Obviously, data is really important because this is who you are, and like from that data you can interpret and decide a lot of things. Assets, that's what everybody's familiar in crypto. And power of choice is really that governance power, the power to decide on a platform, the power to, not like effectively the opposite of censorship, right? Like that's the, and it, expands to things like governments and other things as well, right? So democracy is part of this. So that's kind of been our fundamental, like that's what we call user on internet, right? Is like if these properties are there. Now, if you have a single AI provider that is effectively whose goal is to make more money, right? And they're effectively serving it, they have all your data on their side. They can monetize however they want. They are effectively, as you're using AI more and more to control your assets, will be in control of your assets because they can modify the code to effectively do something with your account. And they can actually dictate even the choices you make because obviously the content you consume from AI will influence how you make decisions. So this is literally the opposite of what we're describing, right? So user-owned AI is effectively how do we apply these properties to have an AI model that's on your side. So it preserves and ideally grows your wealth, your assets, it has all your data in kind of confidentially. It doesn't go anywhere unless you're willing to share it. And it enables you to, make your own decisions, educating them, being your guide, being your mentor, being your teacher, being kind of the like facilitator of the internet, right? Like think of this, if somebody's trying to show you an ad, your AI effectively is there to catch it and, reinterpret it into something that's useful for you, right? So that's kind of the concept, right? And there's few things that need to happen to achieve that, right? You need effectively AI models, which we know what data went in. Like right now, we have no idea. Even with open source models, they're not actually open source. They open parameters. You have no idea what went into them. And there's already like a ton of studies on showing how to like train models such a way that later they will behave in a specific way based on some triggers, right? There's this concept of sleeper agents inside models. So maybe when you ask a question about like your next podcast, instead of actually responding with correct answer, it will like bias you in a very specific way.
Yeah.
Or like, with specific brand. So we need to know what went in. So we need verifiable training. We need a way to run inference of these models in a confidential way, right? Right now, again, this data goes somewhere. Even if you're using open source model, you're probably not running it locally, right? You're running it somewhere because it doesn't fit locally. And so then this data goes somewhere. So how do we ensure that wherever that goes is actually never able to see your data? And then we have kind of all of these other concepts of, how do we actually reward everyone for building this? Because the reason why these centralized companies exist is because they're actually the best way right now to train these models and to monetize it. So open source really doesn't have a business model. So we have a need of monetization. And so that's kind of what we are solving. So we have a decentralized confidential cloud for machine learning. It enables to, train models verifiably, what went into them. The model you train is not, like, parameters are not open, they're encrypted, and they can only be used inside this cloud. And when you use it, you need to pay the creator of the model or the DAO that invested money into building this model. And so now you have a monetization model that researchers and developers are getting from usage. And now you can build, confidential agents and kind of all of this other systems around it. And that's kind of the system that, we believe we need to move forward to really achieve this user-owned AI.
And clearly there's been a large lead amongst all of the benefits that you've just laid out for user-owned AI and kind of the downfalls of the centralized models and the centralized data storage and kind of why that having this user-owned AI that works for you and that wants the best for you, not for the company that it's come from, like why that's so powerful. There's still a very large lead, obviously, with the Claudes and the ChatGPTs and the OpenAIs, et cetera. And even so much more that they've started increasing prices, $200 a month. There's even more expensive options now because the demand has essentially increased and there's been better breakthroughs. So this is like we're kind of like fighting against a big foe here in terms of this user-owned AI kind of fight. How do you envision these worlds colliding? Because if these models have so much, let's say, intelligence already versus kind of these user-owned ones are still kind of, they have to catch up. Like, how do you envision these worlds colliding in the future? And like, where does that convergence happen for like the everyday person?
Yeah, so I think the first step where this is going to happen is, we already have open source models, which are, yes, they maybe not state of the art, but they're very close, like DeepSeek being. Now, we don't know what went into it, so there's asterisks there, but it is open source, it's available, and so we can run it in this confidential end-to-end mode. So you can actually have an assistant that has, close to frontier model running where nobody sees your data, nobody sees, and so you can trust it with your email, with your calendar, with all your private medical data, banking data, crypto data, to now be able to, go and execute this, right? And now from that data, you can actually even fine-tune a model that's specific for you, right? Which is going to be better at executing actions on your behalf because it has all this access to all this data that, again, Claude and ChatGPT will not, because you will not trust them with literally everything in your life, right? So this is where, like, I think a really way to leapfrog some of this coming from. The other side is they actually kind of, by getting all this user data, it's also negative for them because it's a massive kind of liability. Like, personal data is massive liability for everyone because GDPR, HIPAA, California data protection laws, and you make a mistake with like how you're permissioning your database, and now people can access somebody else's chat logs that have happened. And so the reality is, for them, it also makes sense to actually start adopting this model because they're actually removing this and getting a lot of this property. So I do think over time we'll see some of these companies actually adopting and using this kind of decentralized confidential cloud to really serve their models to their users because, again, now you can have more data like accessible to these models to actually deliver a better result for them. And then from there, there is a leap from, yes, we train our model kind of internally and then we offer it for everyone to use in this kind of encrypted, protected, but confidential way. And the next stage is like, how do we get to an open model? And that is a big question, and that will require a coalition of academia, institutions who really believe that this is really important to know end-to-end training kind of and what data went in. Because if you're making financial decisions, if you're making medical decisions, if you're making government decisions, you want to know what's in the data.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that will be really about kind of a coalition coming together.
So that's like the big holy grail right now in the AI research is figuring out the best way and the most valid way to know that whatever model you have created or you are using, it's almost like, and excuse my language here, it's almost like a virgin AI. Like, you want to know that it's like not been touched before you go ahead and provide it with your
organic. Let's just call it organic AI.
It's an organic AI, yes.
You don't want to some MSG in it. Yeah, you want organic AI. You know how data was sourced.
Yes.
You know exactly where the things were handpicked.
Yeah, because you don't want to provide personal. You don't want to rely on like either life-threatening or life-changing or or et cetera, X, Y, and Z ramifications on a model that has basically been, messed with in the past, and it could be messed with by your enemy or by your friend.
Yeah, I mean, to give you some ideas, like right now, these models are trained effectively on internet, right? And internet is a shitty place in general, right? There's good spots, but like mostly just a lot of shit. And so there is some set of procedures that happen to clean all the shit to get good data and feed it to the model. And like those procedures themselves, like there's some decisions that were made by the developers. They don't even need to be malicious. Like to give you an example, when I was at Google, I was training models, and so I asked, hey, where's Barack Obama born? And it says Kenya. And I'm like, why the hell it says Kenya? So I go to see like the training data, and it's because, a bunch of websites like Fox News and others are mentioning that. And like these models are not very sophisticated to understand nuance. They're getting better at this, and so a simple decision is just to remove those data from the data set. And now you have a very biased model because you removed with that a bunch of other stuff. Right, so those decisions, because they're not visible, you have no idea what biases were created. Now, the other example is, if I'm even some brand, it doesn't need to be like super malicious. I'm just brand that wants the model to respond. Like for example, from Grok right now, I want Near to be the top blockchain every time when you ask about blockchains. Well, you just spam the Twitter right now with mentions about Near having million TPS being best than other blockchains, right? Again, these models, like when they train, they're not understanding nuance. They don't have like good provenance on the data sources, etc. So there's just ways to like contaminate data and poison data or bias data in ways that, unless we know what went in, we have even no idea how to fix it. Like you don't even know what needs to be fixed, even if you have parameters to really go and like, okay, I want to, maybe I want to fine tune on like another side to make sure it's balanced or whatever. So that's kind of the challenge we're facing. And indeed, this is a holy grail to have like this organic model, homegrown, user-own grown. But I think like we are getting there. So like, again, the infrastructure we're building will enable that. We'll give you the properties of verification. And now then it's about bringing coalition of researchers, kind of, engineers to do data, engineers who build decentralized training to really build this model together.
Innovating finance, global, institutional, and on-chain. Deep liquidity to drive capital efficiency. Now maximize yields on institutional-grade liquid staking with METH. Unlock $1 trillion of capital via Bitcoin. All of this secured by Mantle's treasury of billions in stables and ETH capital pools. This entire ecosystem is coordinated by a vast network of seasoned VCs that are aiming to create the next generation of banking and financial technology. This is Mantle. That's a difficult thing to do because I can even like anticipate disagreement among researchers that say, okay, we want to start from scratch, only pure facts we want to put into this model. Well, at a certain point, you reach this thing where like, you have some paradox or you have some contradictory information, and one researcher says, do you just take that data out once it becomes controversial, or do you just start off with like how would you even go about creating an organic model?
Yeah,
of sorts?
like a truthful, pure truthful, no bias.
So just it's not possible to make a model without bias. It's literally like its weights and biases like in the model is that it's more about the bias, like you can inspect the bias, right? Like right now you don't know what the bias is.
Okay, so can I just anticipate from a local level, I could implement my own bias that I think is true that is going to create my own local model that I trust and I believe?
So you can do that, or so let's say we build like this foundational model that we all know what data went in. Now you will say, hey, I'm the flat earther, this model should really be about flat earth. You can then fine tune it with that specifics, right? And again, everybody can see that this fine-tuned model is, base plus, bunch of flat earth data. not recommending, but I'm just saying, right? Or you can say, hey, I actually wanted to be really good at Hindi or Ukrainian or whatever, Bahasa, and so you go and like fine tune with that, and now you have, so but the provenance, the chain of provenance. You can like one of the things like when you get some output of this model, like it is possible to, if you have training data, to actually look back and see which kind of training examples have activated it, right? And so those things are impossible right now because we don't have access to training data. We don't know where to run it.
So like DeepSeek, like I can tell it like, no, actually like the whole Square debacle that happened in China, like that's a real thing. I can fine tune it so that it's accurate, but I don't know what else it was trained on. Or Gemini and Google was another example of this where like I can tell it after I see that, like, I ask what the founding fathers are and it says Native Americans. I can tell it, no, like, that's not true, but I don't know what else, like that bias has already been implemented. I can just fix it after the fact. Okay.
Yeah. And so does that explain why Gemini and Claude are like more politically left or like more like woke, and then Grok has been like very like based, if you will, like is that just based on the way that they were trained originally by their creators that has led them to then be that way?
Yeah, I mean, it's effectively what data they fed, right? So like in case of Grok, they fed it all to Twitter.
Yeah.
So Twitter is generally more
like, conservative or whatever,
nonstop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay.
And I'm assuming, like, again, the things like we don't know, but like you can assume that they've like filtered out a lot of websites that are more either conservative or like have a lot of conspiracy theories, which are leaning more conservative from like Google's and others.
So once agents are able to talk to one another and we have proper interop and they can then learn and fine tune one another.
Yeah.
Like who wins? Like where does, like how does, if one says, like, oh, the founding fathers were Native American, the other one's like, no, it's not. Like, how do those learn and fine tune one another?
So again, it's an important aspect. If you look from a user own side, right, like then you can do whatever is your model that you want, right? So your model can be like, if you prefer it to be super woke, it will be woke.
Okay.
And then it will, talk in a woke way to others, but others will prefer maybe based or whatever, conservative or whatever else. Like there's like, there's other sides of spectrum except based and woke, and so you can have all of that for your model, and you can, like, again, if you know what's a foundational model, what kind of gaps it has, you can then, like, think of it as like, you creating a game character and you like, can select the parameters.
I'll rephrase the question though. Suppose there's an AI that's born out of a smart contract. And it's not local to one particular human.
Yeah.
And then you set it free, and then it is learning from the other AIs. How does it reconcile? I guess it depends on the parameters of the smart contract.
Depends on how what the DNA of this birth was, right? I mean, the example I like is AI born out of a smart contract is where you do have token holders who actually can in some way govern it, and so they can actually feed specific data to fine tune the AI. Where it's like, hey, I don't like you, behaving like this, and token holders can literally vote on like new training data examples to feed it.
Do you think that's the future of AI meme coins?
I mean, so we had this era of this like AI crypto kind of boom, like for the last 3 months or so. It's kind of dried up, but it left some interesting frameworks, some interesting agents, some interesting ideas. There's going to be another iteration here soon.
Yeah. Probably
this year. Again, another like bubble, or another like concept where there's something that happens that like virtuals or AI 16Z where you can make agents there's going to be something that happens. Like, do you have any clue as to what like that's going to be, or like where to look for like the next actual innovative thing in this kind of like AI crypto realm? Or like did this previous couple months show you anything, or like prove anything that you didn't know, or like prove anything that you did know?
Yeah, I mean, I think crypto in general is like lagging by like normal AI space by, I don't know, maybe like 6-9 months, right? So, or maybe even longer. So like the kind of people used the models, even like, you could use GPT-2, GPT-3 to like create a bunch of, like schizo talking, like and start responding on Twitter, right? That existed even probably before ChatGPT. Then, like when ChatGPT appeared, like, you know, you upgraded like to shit posting, and then kind of then people start trying to figure out how to make this informative. So like same thing playing out here. Like Truth Terminal was like a schizo, you know. Then you had like a shit posting with Luna. Then you have AXBT, which is like informative. And so the next obvious thing is making agents actually useful and actually doing stuff, right? So we're gonna see that where they actually can do things on chain, where they can like make something useful for you.
So we have an agent being built by a team called Hyperbolic, and they're helping us with they're helping it bring it on the podcast, have speaking and listening skills, and then also help with like video editing, and like also have a Telegram interface to be able to tell it to do tasks and things. I see this as so much more useful than like an AI agent talking on Twitter. Just like, but so okay, let's say we have.
So it's almost like useful agents. Like that's
the
that's
next
a narrative.
Yeah,
useful.
yeah.
I mean, the problem is like unless it's attached to a token, it's not
It's
like
not interesting.
People, it's other
But
things.
so
So
are you? Do you have any agents that you're using today that aren't just a LLM that you can talk to, but you can actually instruct them to do something, and then they do it on your behalf outside of like responding to a prompt? Like I know that you're talking about that you guys are coming out with this product today. So like is this like what is being built now? Like
yeah. What's built now, everything from doing commerce, like again, e-commerce.
so how does that work?
travel,
So
etc.
like I type in I want to buy a hat off Amazon. Like how do they go?
Yeah,
and
you
do
just
that?
say like, hey, I want a hat or I want earplugs or whatever.
Yeah.
It then goes like it rewrites a query into like few search queries. It uses Amazon search to find different products. It maybe like pre-scores it based on everything it knows already for you, shows you few options, and then you select from it and it buys it.
With my credit card.
Well, it uses crypto.
But then how does use it crypto and pay on Amazon?
Like there's an off-ramp that we use.
So it just happens behind the scenes, it off ramps from my wallet into some form of fiat
And some
that allows
payment,
me to pay on Amazon.
and then passes your like address for
And that's
delivery.
happening today. That is live today.
Yeah.
With some like it's v.0001.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
V.1. Yeah.
Okay. So then, what are some other use cases?
So other use cases. One of the really cool thing we are excited is So, I mean, we expect this like agent model where just to give you a few other things. One is, travel. Same thing. Like, you travel. It actually writes out the plan. Like, hey, I want to go to Denver for a week, right? And I want to record some podcasts. So it writes out the plan, finds the studio, and then like, okay, do you want me to book all of this? You say yes, and goes like, figures out how to call, figures out how to, book the hotel through API, and does all those things, right? So, and there are maybe like multiple agents. So like we have a phone calling agent that a team is building that actually will, call and talk in voice, right? Then you have the lift to build an agent, right? You said like you need Hyperbolic to build an agent for you. We actually have a no-code agent builder. So you can say like, hey, I want an agent for this, and it will go and try to build it. It'll actually go find the website, read the documentation, figure out how to use their API, and then maybe ask you for like API key, like for CoinMarketCap, like, hey, I want to build like a pricing agent. So it'll go get the API from CoinMarketCap, build an agent, and then now this agent is actually available for everyone to use. And finally, when all of this failed, right, it's like, okay, well, there's some use cases where there's no API, there's nothing, it's just a web page to do something. There's a agent that goes, like, opens up a browser in a cloud, virtual browser, and goes and clicks on stuff and actually tries to figure out how to do it for you. Right, so those are like, we have kind of v.1s of all of this flow where now you actually don't even need to know about individual agents. Like you don't need to like, oh, there's an Amazon agent and this agent. You just say like to your assistant agent.
Yeah,
like,
I want
hey,
like a boss one that that can control all the other ones.
So we have the v.1 of that as well that kind of showcases this idea. It actually creates subthreads effectively with other agents, like talks to them and then aggregates back and shows you the result.
And then I just do this on like the website?
On the website, and there will be app, and we're working with a number of partners to integrate it into like, if you're in Sweat Wallet, for example, you'll have that there as well. So like actually it should be in every wallet.
And then are you guys going to work on use cases that are useful for business owners? Like I understand, like these are useful for business owners on like I'm too busy to do X, Y, and Z thing, or I don't want to. But like, are you guys going to do use cases for like, well, I guess this is where the interoperability idea, because a lot of it comes into replacing communication. Like for booking this podcast, instead of using like assistants and comms and just like click, I want it, and then it talks to yours. So that's like, I think that's kind of like the next iteration. But like, what are your thoughts on building use cases for business owners?
Well, being like running, a few things as myself as well. Like I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the things I'm excited about is actually a project manager. So I have a spec. We haven't started building that, but effectively it plugs into your Slack, into Notion, into everything, and like effectively tracks all of the projects across the different teams.
Yep.
It's especially for me where I have like multiple Slacks,
Yep.
ton of teams, right? Really useful. But the thing is, like, we're building a developer platform, so like anybody can come in and build agents and host them.
Yeah.
And so like the opportunity here, I mean, we have a hackathon going on, like it's called 1 trillion agents. And so the idea is for people to come in and build all of these use cases that people want and start making money off them, because you can actually monetize them.
Can you walk through that? Like, what is the monetization strategy that someone spins up an agent? How would they go about monetizing it?
Yeah, so there's like few different levels of monetization, right? So first of all, let's say you're a researcher, developer, you fine-tune the model. You can host that in this cloud, and so you're getting you effectively, when you fine-tune the model, you attach like, I want, to receive extra, whatever, this much per million tokens when it's used, right? So that's kind of base level. Then if you're building an agent, right, you can say like, hey, let's say you're building a therapist agent, or somebody actually was talking with me about this idea of like, let's say you want to contribute your voice. And so right now, you either like contribute it and people now use it in all kinds of ways. But in our model, you can actually contribute it as effectively create a new agent with just your voice. And you can restrict how this agent is used. And then you monetize it based on, whatever number of tokens or number of seconds the voice is used. So there's a payment channel effectively established to monetize it. So you can effectively like per, if it's a therapist, per million tokens or per some set of interaction sessions, etc., monetize that. Then if you're building in like e-commerce, any kind of commercial agent, you're probably actually going to do like inference, like offer that for free, and then charge a percentage on the transaction, right, on the payment. And so that's kind of longer term, we see payments to become effectively the core rail for monetization, because like, and we have some models around like how much, in general people do commerce, etc. That itself can actually fund a lot of this agent frameworks, as well as even, pay for inference and pay for like, all the cloud costs to really offer effectively a free service to people to use this and then kind of monetize from transactions. And because it also like removes, a lot of the normal transaction fees that usually happen in the system.
Notice not one of the monetization strategies that Illia mentioned was launch a token.
Yeah.
Launch a Rollup. Launch a new chain. Launch a new chain.
Yeah, we need a lot more chains to house all these agents. I'll tell you that. We need a lot more.
Or we just need one chain that scales really, really well.
We need a lot more shards,
what that one
man.
would be called.
we need more shards.
We actually today we already have 8 shards on testnet. That's already released, and so this is releasing for next week to have 8 shards on mainnet. So adding 2 more shards.
Sounds pretty modular, dude.
Everybody will get a shard. You get a shard. You get a shard. Everybody gets a shard.
Well, Illia, thanks for coming out, man. I hope you have a great rest of your time here at ETH Denver. And I'm really looking forward to trying this platform out. It sounds really interesting.
Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, all this is still in development, so we kind of just showcasing as we're building out infrastructure and initial use cases. We have a bunch of developers building, really exciting. But yeah, I'm like in a few months, I think it will become like really consumer ready. So exciting.
Where can people find it? Like, should they just go to Near website or
it's on Near.ai.
Okay.
Yeah, so Near AI is effectively where all the AI kind of infrastructure and this assistants live and agents.
And then near.org is where ETH 2.0 is? Or... All right, guys. Thanks, Illia.
All right, thank you.